Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Deep3 podcast. Today I have a special guest, Jamion Christian, head coach at George Washington University. Hello, Jamion.
What's up, man? How you doing? Good to
Good, 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 good. Just hanging in
see you.
there. Hanging in there.
That's real.
How
That's
is
real.
this period, man?
Find
How's
a
this
way to
period
get
for a head coach?
better. Yeah, it's been great for us. I mean, a chance for us just to take a deep breath, kind of look at the season, assess things that went well, things that didn't go well, and then for me and talking to a lot of my coaching colleagues, just a chance to connect with our families. Typically in college basketball season, your season ends in early to late March. Then you go right into recruiting in April, right after the Final Four. And so there's this large gap where you really don't get a chance to connect with your family. And then July, we're gone the entire month typically. So it's been really good actually just to be a dad and to not have to rush off to a recruiting thing or rush off to a meeting and just be able to spend time with my son, spend time with my wife, and trying to make the most of that. I know when we come out of this, it'll probably be a little bit different, but it's been a really enjoyable time. And as we're concerned about our friends around the world trying to be healthy and get well, just trying to do our part here.
I know, I totally agree with you that too. It's like we came back home and I was like, I just don't have to think about basketball. The stress of, being a coach, being a professional basketball player, it just takes a toll on you. You come home, you're still thinking about it. You're still thinking about the practice that just happened. And you're there, but sometimes you're kind of disconnected, right? I mean, it's hard to just, at least I'm not one of those people that can just leave everything at the door. When I walk in, I'm like, so I had a bad game, I kind of carry it with me, like stuff like that. And it felt good to just be like, I don't know when I can play basketball again as a professional basketball player. You probably don't know when you're going to coach the kids even in practice again.
Yeah.
So you just be there, like it teaches you how to be present. And I think that's why I took the best positive out of this is just being present, just learning to kind of live off my phone a little bit,
I
but
know. I agree with you. I think that's been one of the, you think about this, when you and I are playing this game since we were so young, we only know the rat race that we're in. We only know, we only know basketball, and like you said, like when you love it the way that we love it, you're constantly trying to find a way to get better. And, even when you're watching a basketball game on TV for enjoyment, it's not really enjoyment. It's like a lesson, a way that you can learn and improve. And, so I feel like I agree with you. And I know a lot of guys are in the same boat. And so not to have to do something next, having a little bit of unknown for us. I think a lot of the world probably has that. They have like their weekends,
yeah,
we
there's
haven't
no
really had
weekend though.
we haven't really had a weekend. We're usually performing on a weekend, or preparing for something for the week. So it's again, man, I think the rest of the basketball community understands your sentiments.
Yeah, talking about a weekend, I was just talking to a friend that just retired about 2 years ago, and he was like, the best part about it? I was like, holidays and weekends. I was like, I didn't even think about that. I was like,
uh,
hey, you're right. Like, I was like, you just do work like Friday night, you go home, and that's it. You shut down till Monday. You can be, do whatever. And, for us, that's like the stressful time, right? We got,
well,
so you got a game, then you got to analyze it. What happened?
I mean, you think about it. I mean, you don't have, typically, we don't have Thanksgiving, we don't have Christmas. Easter usually falls around the Final Four. So July 4th is usually around recruiting. so like,
no
it's great.
holiday.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's like a blessing, to be able to work and to be able to experience life that way. But it is different, it's like, like we have Memorial Day weekend, like usually our guys will be coming back for summer school. So we'd have to do something with them. So it's like, we have, we have a 4-day weekend, we're gonna take Friday off and we have Monday off, and, so we'll do some stuff as a family. And, it's just our usually our lives is basketball around the holidays.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, as a head coach, how do you see it though, on the basketball standpoint? Just dealing with the kids not being on campus, the kids not being able to work out,
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, you've been through this, so you understand. I think we almost can do too much for the guys. So I mean, typically, what we would have done in April, anyways, we would have just let the guys play pickup. We would have had weightlifting and stuff like that, because I think the guys need to do that and they need to stay consistent with that. But we wouldn't have done a whole lot with them basketball wise. I think the year is so long. I'm just always concerned with guys not loving the game. If we just keep pushing them. So that, when the season ends for us, we usually take 2 weeks off, and then we let those guys play pickup for about a month or 6 weeks. And then when they come back in the summertime, in the first summer session, typically we just work them out individually how they see fit. We don't even have anything really scheduled, and we let those guys lift. I think it's important to work on your body and your lifting and your flexibility. I think you got 2 months right there. Those should be the primary goals. And guys that are driven will get in the gym and to work. But I just want to keep our guys fresh mentally and loving playing the game and loving coming to the gym every day. and we've kind of pushed this thing in college basketball now. We're going 10 or 11 months out of the year. Where guys are just, they're being to me, they're being like overcoached in the off season. And I just want them to get back to loving it, and I think this period has been great for us because I've watched our guys just keep getting better in their own ways, being creative like you and I had to do. Now, I only have one court here. I don't have a court, so now I only have a basketball in the garage to figure it out. And I think there's a lot to that. I think it's a lot to using your imagination to get better and thinking through the ways that you can improve. And, I think we've taken some of their imagination away from them, but I think over this time, it's really allowed them to be able to do that. We haven't done a ton with them. I've given them some simple ball handling things to do. And I've asked them, hey, go ahead and have fun and go and attack it. And I expect you to come back a better ball handler and really energized. And I think if they do that, we cross that goal and we get here, we're going to be in a pretty good place.
Absolutely. I think a lot of kids are going to separate during this time because you can really see who really wants it. I mean, you don't have to push them. There's kids that you don't have to push, and I think those kids are really going to make it whatever they decide to do in life, but especially with sports, if they really push themselves during this time and they get a lot of joy out of it. I was talking to somebody earlier about, to me, working out is like the best part of basketball. As a basketball player, it's just, as winning and losing, scoring 30 points, everything is great. But the best part is, just getting to the gym and once you start bouncing the ball and working on your game and you don't know something and you just pick up the move and like, hey, I saw this move, let me try it. And once you get it, it's just like a different kind of joy. And I think for any coach, it's like that too. When you try to teach them something and they get it, it's like, it can be an individual thing. It can be a team concept, right? Like a pick and roll type defense or pick and roll offense. They get it. It's like, oh man, he just makes the right read every time. He got it, and it's a different type of joy. And I hope that out of all of this, we also get pickup basketball back, like outside. Man. I miss that, like the black guys.
It's great. Our guys are getting kicked off at every court in all parts of the country right now. It's great. They're all trying to play. I'm like, listen, you have to follow the rules of where you are and the laws where we are. And they're like, Coach, I got kicked off today, So I think it is really bringing it back. And, they shouldn't be because of COVID. But as a basketball coach, it excites you because they're showing their love for the game and they want to play. And, all these gripes we've had about, the generations of basketball is how much they don't love it and how much they're not improving. I think this generation is showing us different, and they're showing them the opportunity to run their own games and to set up their own games. They can do that just like we did, and they're doing it in a much tougher time than we maybe had to.
Absolutely. But I look forward because I feel like the gyms, they're going to be like kind of the last thing coming around. And if you could be outdoor in the summer and if they're going to, it's going to be okay and safe for everybody to play basketball, I'm kind of hoping I'm kind of just going to drive by course and see kids play again.
It. It's nothing better than, pulling up to the court outdoors and it's just packed and you run court. I don't know if there's been a better feeling in life. We've won championships and all that stuff. But when you go out there and you run 8 straight games that day or 9 straight games and you run court, there ain't no better feeling when you're walking off there, And I hope these guys find that. That's a great,
kind of like a championship, right? Like you just go out there,
it's
like
harder.
You run 8 straight,
right?
Exactly.
When they foul you, it's hard to get the last points. They're trying to stack their team against you. That is just. Again, I'm with you, man. I might jump out here and play some pickup games as well at the end because I just.
The worst part is like you lose one and you sit out for like an hour and a half. I'm like, God, what happened?
You got to make a decision whether you're going to leave. Like, oh man, should we just go? We're going to be out an hour and a half. Like, you got to make all these decisions on it, and when you get on the floor, you got to do everything you can to stay on. And that's such a big part of basketball culture. And I don't know if we've lost that, but hopefully during this time we'll start to get it back. Because I think that's one of the most fun things that you can have is just great pickup and great enjoyment of the game.
Absolutely. So now your coaching career, man, you've to me, I've been fascinated since we met a few years ago. Just how quickly you turn programs around. Honestly, it's like it's been amazing. I know you're ops at Bucknell, then you went to William & Mary. I don't know, you were very close to coaching me at William & Mary.
Oh man, I know.
Yeah, they were recruiting me very, very hard. It was like in my top 5. I just loved the system. I wanted to go to a good school, get a good education too. So that was another thing. So it's like, okay. I just decided to go George Mason. But and we end up playing William Mary. I think, yeah, my freshman year. We ended up playing them in the
Yeah,
championship game.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah, and then you went on to start your head coaching career at Mount St. Mary's, and you've done a fabulous job there. And then you went to Siena. You turned it around, and now you're at honestly one of my favorite universities, just because I've been to DC area for so many years. I went to high school and college there basically, and then I had a lot of friends that played at GW, a lot of teammates that played at GW along my pro years. And what is your approach? When you take over a program, as far as recruiting, as far as recruiting your own players to stay,
yeah,
the ones that you have already, and just changing the culture, because I know you like to run a certain type of system, and you want players to fit that system and fit your culture and character wise, of course. Just
yeah.
what you want to build there.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, every job opportunity is different, and I got a great one here at GW with just an amazing set of resources we have here on campus, and people love going to school in DC, as you know, and this is an amazing feel. And one thing I've tried to do every place I've been, I've tried to be me. I see it a little bit differently. I believe it should be done a little bit differently. And one of the largest things that's hard to work through is building unconditional relationships against transactional relationships. And I think what typically happens in college in basketball cultures, right? Like if I do more, I get more. And so, I think what happens, as these guys grow up into that culture, it becomes so transactional, and the coaches become transactional with them. And if a guy doesn't produce, after one game, then his role is completely different. And so I've tried to really build this thing of being unconditional, having an unconditional relationship with you that's not based on your performance. And I think it's worked great at at different places I've been at. But I think it's a big time adjustment for the people inside that locker room, because it's almost like they can't believe it. It's like, you mean I'm going to be good to you every day you come into the office, every day you come to practice. I'm going to treat you well, treat you with respect, care about you, love you. But I may not play you 20 minutes. I may not play you 30 minutes, and it's not going to be personal. I think that's really hard for guys to understand. I think they're so used to it being so transactional, that it's hard for them to understand that, like, hey, I'm going to treat you the same way. I'm going to play the guys I think are going to help our team be at its best, and we're going to put our system around the guys that can help our team be at its best. But it's not going to be personal. It's not going to be like, I don't like you because you can't make 40% from three, you know. But we're going to have that requirement. And so I think we just tried to set that standard there, that it's really just about like being genuine, caring, honest, and being connected. That's what we spent a ton of time talking about, and really building that in. I think as players get adjusted to that, they acclimate a lot better. And some guys acclimate to that better and quicker than others. So that you have that aspect of it. That's about your culture, your way of life, what you're trying to build. And then you have your basketball side of it. Guys like yourself, I love size. I love guys that can shoot the ball from the outside. I love guys that love being in the gym and playing together. We're looking for all those components, and I think we can get both. And that's what we fight hard to find. And, the truth of it is, if you're not one of those things, it doesn't mean I'm going to treat you bad, but it does mean you're probably not going to play. And so you've got to be genuine with how you attack it. And I want input from players. I think that's a little bit different. I think players are a little bit uncomfortable with that, but they learn. I'm going to say, hey, we're going to cut like this. We're going to run this play, and I might ask you, hey, what do you think about that? Do you like cutting over the top there? Or do you want to curl this? Do you want to, because to me, I want you to be really comfortable. I want you to play in your purest form, which is playing like yourself. And so, I'm going to ask, and then if you tell me, you tell me the truth, it'll be great. But sometimes guys tell you what you want to hear. I want you to tell me what you think, because if you want the ball in this block, then I'll run plays for you to get the ball in this block. If you want them on this block, I'll run for you on that. It doesn't matter to me. I just want you to be comfortable, and I want you to be able to produce and be an assistant that you feel comfortable with.
Gotcha. Got any scholarships for next year, man? I'm trying to play for you.
Man,
You're
you're my guy
me.
now.
I'm ready.
Listen, I mean, I've seen you play. I mean, you might be a 2 guard or 3 guard for us, man. The way you can shoot the ball and score it. So, I know everybody's trying to play you at the 4 and the 5 and all that. We're gonna keep moving you on up, because I love skilled big guys. And that one of the things on the floor, I always want to be one of the biggest teams in the league. I want to be like, when I was at Siena, we were the 5th biggest team in the country, and that was huge. We played that way, and we're going to be that way here at GW, because I think there's a huge advantage to that. If I can have a 6'8" guy at the 2 guard spot, even if he's a little bit slower, as a smaller guy, you still got to account for that. You still got to make an extra move to get by him, and that 6'8" guy's gonna be able to shoot over top of those guys. So that's a big part of our system as well.
Yeah, I mean, you did a fabulous job. I followed the first Siena year closely. Then, of course, I followed the CIGW, and you've done a fabulous job of just turning around. And now I see why. That was actually my question. I was like, how? Why?
Yeah,
And as a player and as a parent, I think just knowing that, you know, my son can play for you, for example, and just knowing that it's not just basketball, that
yeah,
you're going to develop this young man in every area possible, and just playing is going to be like you said. It's just are you good enough or not? But either way, you're going to care for them and develop them and help them get there. That's I think that's the most important thing, and I think what helps you have success is parents. Uh, this young student athlete, they just buy in a lot quicker when you
yeah,
care for them, and they play a lot harder for you, honestly. Because I've had coaches in the past that when my relationship with them was very good and very open, and it wasn't just a one-way street, I played a lot harder for them. And
yeah,
it wasn't that I didn't want to play for some other coach. I didn't play as hard for other coaches. I just felt that when it's more of a connection,
yeah.
then you just give more. And I think that's in any relationship actually. It's just it just that connection is there, then things work out, and that's pretty amazing. I know you love to shoot a lot of threes, man.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, when you look at it, and, every place I've been, we've always been one of the leading teams in the league at shooting threes or taking threes, not always making them, but taking them. And I just feel like it's such a weapon for us. If we can defend the three and make threes on the outside, if we can make it 9 to 10 threes a game and hold you to 5 threes, that's a 15-point difference that you got to make up. And so we're really focusing on those kind of numbers. We are really analytically savvy, so we're digging into the numbers in a lot of different ways and trying to find ways to use them. And, like I often feel like the most efficient players are guys that are tall, rangy shooters, but they're often the guys that are under recruited. So we have a chance to get those kind of guys, and that's going to be really valuable for us and guys that kind of fit what we're trying to do. And so I love that. I mean, I love being able to shoot the three. I also think it gives like the guys, like if you have little guards, it gives them more space to play, get to the front of the rim and to make passes, makes their passing lanes easier. And then I think it makes the game much easier for a dominant big because you got all that shooting out there. There's no way you can double. And so when we've had our best teams, we've always had a dominant big with the shooting. And we just throw it inside probably 10 to 15 times a night, and they back them in and shoot a layup because no one can help, And, it's really simple basketball. I think people feel like the big man is kind of going out of the game, but I think the usage of it's going to go back up because I think as you start to, you're already seeing it now, people are starting to score more on the low post because no one's helping, no one's playing post defense as much, no one's doubling. So those are going to be easy opportunities.
absolutely. I just think it's not going to be the traditional in and out. I think that's what people are waiting for.
Yeah.
The kind of traditional in and out, the whatever 3-out to win that I used to play, and all this stuff. And I think they're scoring low post. It's just different type of scoring.
Yeah. What do you think is going to happen? Like one thing I look at the NBA and Joel Embiid, Karl Anthony Towns, all these guys like that. They're versatile centers essentially. What's going to happen when they get older and they're making the most money though? Like, aren't they going to have to go back to the block to
Towns
score?
to me, I don't know. Towns to me is very, very interesting and underrated.
Yeah.
I'm not the biggest fan of Embiid, just because of shooting percentages.
Yeah.
I'm big on that. I just, if you're gonna take a lot of shots at the top of the key and you're gonna shoot a lot of threes, you better start making them. I think he was.
Yeah.
It's something that I watch with my oldest son too. It's crazy. Like if you ask him who shoots the best percentage in the NBA from like the elbows, the mid range, he knows everything because that's what I watch.
Yeah.
I talk to him about it, and he's as far as shooting percentages, he's just not there yet. He takes a lot of them too. So that's why I'm not the biggest fan of it because I feel like Philly's success relies on that, and kind of in a, he's just in a I'm showing what I can do kind of thing. I can do everything and that. But why don't you go do what you do best to get this team a championship? Then you can show me what you can do after.
Yeah. I think it's challenging though, because I think with Ben Simmons, who's such a talent, with him on the floor not being the point guard, I think it's really tough because now you basically like they have 3 guys have to play inside the lane. So almost like they're like forcing Embiid to be out there more. You know what I mean? Like it's a different dynamic. Like
it is.
their team it's different. But
Yeah, in some ways, like Ben Simmons, like traditional five, right? He's the one
yeah.
there, and then it's like,
He's like Anthony Mason, like that point
yeah,
forward, would get down and make plays, and so they have an interesting dynamic on their team. I'm kind of with you, but I just think as those guys get older, they're going to have to be more. I mean, in probably 10 years, 8 years, they're going to be max level players on a team, and I think they're going to have to go to the block to score. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm kind of
yeah.
interested to see what's
I
going to
mean, I
happen in the
think so
next
too, and
year.
a lot of things are gonna like just look at. Okay, Dirk is not the best example, but Tim Duncan, how he slowly shifted that five spot,
Yeah,
and like you said, if you're gonna be a max player or you're gonna be the most important player in that team, and you don't have the weapons they're gonna have now physically, then they're gonna have to go in the low post. Like you said,
yeah,
you're gonna have to go find ways to score in low post, and they have all the moves. Honestly,
yeah.
they just it's just
They're
so much
so
that they can
talented.
do with the ball that it's hard for them to go post up 10 times when they can cross over, they can do all the step
Yeah,
backs, and all they have all the tricks in the bag, and it's just difficult. I think for them to just be like, okay, like I'm gonna just go post up this game
yeah,
because it's not the culture anymore. That like in the '90s, he was like, okay, we're gonna just go at him, we're gonna abuse him the whole game,
yeah,
same thing, and I'm gonna score 40, but just I'm gonna back you down if I can with 20 dribbles, and that's it. Stop it if you.
yeah,
Now it's like I kind of want to show my step back. I want to show my fadeaway. Let me show
yeah.
this. It's like the highlight culture that.
That's a great point you had, though. It's like I want to show you what I can do instead of doing what I do best.
Yeah, instead just I'm gonna go out there
That's
and
a
just win
big.
the game.
That's a thing. That's a thing.
Absolutely. So, what do you do as far as recruiting now?
Well, recruiting's been great for us. I mean, we typically get really far ahead. So we were out ahead of this. We had our list ready to go. We didn't know this was going to happen, obviously, but this is the time where we're going to probably we would be working for commitments anyway. We would get to that first April period, and then we'd be working for commitments here in June, May at the end of May and June. So this is about our time here to get some of these guys to push them over the top. So we were really planning for this. That's how we wanted to operate. So we were pretty far out ahead. We've obviously had some guys that have really blown up. I don't know how they've blown up. They couldn't play any games, but somehow they've blown up. Doesn't make any sense. No one's letting these guys play, and now all of a sudden they're better. But I understand how that works sometimes. So we're just kind of watching that. But I feel great about where we are. Our staff has done all the Zoom meetings. Everybody's doing that stuff. But I think I've got the youngest staff in the country. They've done an unbelievable job of creating content that the young people have been able to understand, and their families have been able to understand. And I think we really moved forward in this time.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we mentioned earlier, I think having GW being where you are,
Huge.
and unfortunately, maybe you don't get as many kids to visit right now because of this virus. But as soon as you get on campus, it's different. I played a few charity games there, and we used to play pickup there every summer. When Tony Taylor was there, those teams
Yeah.
were just coming over every June, July. We're just playing against them. They will come to America and play against us, and
What a great
it,
player
it
Tony
just
was. Great
you
player.
oh, he still is. He can hoop. Tony
Man.
can go. I played with Tony in Poland, and he's unbelievable. He just finished the season in Turkey. He's had a great year, and yeah, to me, he's one of the best point guards in Europe right now, honestly.
Yeah.
But you have the facilities there at GW, right? I mean,
Yep.
and it's an amazing campus, and I do like what you guys do on social media too.
Yeah.
I love that stuff. I always see it. I'm like, it just reminds me every time I get to see DC. You guys post like every day, so I'm like, oh yes.
They do an amazing job. We have a team of people here who have that as a focus, and they're just amazing. I mean, that's what I mean when I talk about like the resources that we have here and the people we have here are just so different. The way they want to attack it, and the pride they take in their job and their opportunity. We're fortunate, and so we're just trying to do a great job of putting a great product out there because people here are singing from the rafters how good we're going to be, and they understand that the task we have at hand of us, and they're doing a great job of telling the story.
Absolutely. And I think that once you do get there, where you want to take this team and this school, I think it's just going to be a totally different ball game. Just
It's
because
ready for it.
I've seen that gym full. And I've seen it like a few years ago back, and it was kind of empty and sad, and it was like it's hard because I remember when I was in high school, Pops was there,
Yeah,
Paul was there. It was just a really good GW team, and if you ask me, that was like the thing to go see in DC.
yeah,
It's like, um,
it
and
was, and it was an and it of had these waves of like great success and kind of rode it. And but you're exactly right. Like when it's rolling, man, people are coming through and enjoying it. I mean, it's easy. The metro stop, so people the metro's right on campus, so people can get in easily from there. People love it. People love it. It's an amazing place to be.
I think so. People love it. I mean, your athletes have to love it. It's like impossible to. Uh, but it's hard. Though. What do you do with the older kids, though, man? You got to keep an eye on them over there. It's not.
It's been interesting because like these guys are so academically driven that I think, and they're so busy. I mean, like that's obviously one of my concerns as these young kids we have now grow up a little bit. That'll be more of my concern. But the one thing with the generation that we're working with now is they're so image conscious. Like I think you and I might have taken some risk, but this generation is so much more image conscious because of their cell phones, because of the pictures, and
Yeah, you
so
don't
it's
want
going
to
to
end
be
up with a
interesting
picture. You
watching.
don't want to end up with a
Yeah, so
bad
they're
video.
they're in a different mode of how they interact with the world, and I think that's why we've seen, really we haven't seen as much, just more conscious of it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I never thought about it that way, but yeah, once you said it, it is right. And now back to basketball side of things. Uh, what is your approach during the season to developing the guys that you might have transferred or they might not play a lot, and you're gonna have to count them. Like let's say you have a freshman that might not play a lot.
Yeah, we're trying to build in really strong individual plans for each player, and then we're going to stick to that plan throughout the course of the year, whether they're playing or not. Um, because every player on the roster is going to be really important for our success at some point in their careers. And I think our goal here is to get the max out of you with 3 or 4 years. So whether we redshirt you when you're a young guy or redshirt you as a sophomore or junior, whatever. Because my thing is like we want you at your very best for 4 years. We got a small window, so we got to get you healthy. We got to get you all those things in that 4 year window. And so we want to continue to build that plan. And I think that plan is really important. The plan, for some guys might take a little bit longer. Some guys might attack it right away. But we want to really stick to that plan. And that plan includes not just nutrition and diet, not just weight room stuff, which is important. If you have a guy who has tight hips, he might be explosive, but he's going to have a high risk of injury. If he has tight hips, he might not be able to make the movements that we need. Like if he's a shooter, we won't be able to bring him off staggers and stuff like that if his hips are tight. So some of these things seem a little small, but we want to really attack those things really well as we're building that plan in place for them. And I think we've really tried to do a great job of building this plan in for the guys and really sticking to it. And it changes a little bit through the course of the year. We do these things called correctives. So let's say you have a history of ankle injuries. You'll be with our strength coach and athletic trainer. It'll take about 20 minutes every day. That will allow you to get a little bit better. And then at the end of practice, we have small things for guys to do. It'll take 5 or 10 minutes. For a point guard, it might be finishing over a big in the lane. Could be a guy that we're trying to develop who's maybe a 4-man who shoots it. We want to develop his hand a little bit more. So he may have a ball handling regimen that takes about 20 minutes after practice. And, so we just try to be really individualized with guys, be able to improve them. It's really helped. It's been amazing to watch guys that we've maybe given the ball handling regimen at the beginning of the year to the middle of the year to the end. They just take these big jumps because you know how it is when you're in practice. If you're not a point guard, you might not handle the ball, but a certain amount of time, depending on how the structured practice is. We're different. We do a lot of individual work in practice. But a lot of places you come in, you run your 5-on-5 offense, and you don't get a chance to do that. But we're different in that regard. And just watching guys improve their handle and their passing and stuff like that through the course of the year, I think has really really helped our teams, really helped guys continue to improve.
Man, that's great stuff right there, honestly, because I was just talking to my trainer, and we're talking about kids these days and how they don't come into the gym, during the season. Oh, it's my high school season, and I'm not gonna go train because I'm tired of practice. And I'm like, how many shots did you get in practice? How many
Right.
times you actually handled the ball in practice? And like you said, so many coaches just, and I get it. You have a high school practice for like an hour and a half. What am I gonna do? I have to run through my stuff, right? I mean, we have a game every 3 days, every 2 days. So you need to find time on your own to develop your game, which means you might have to go get extra shots up, you know, during your season. You might have to go get extra ball handling during the season. So it's so great hearing that you guys are telling the kids, hey, like, okay, we have our practice, which you already told me that you're doing individual stuff. But on top of that, to have them do extra, that's huge right there. And honestly, I like you said, some guys take longer, and I was probably one of those guys. You know, when I went to Mason, um, I didn't have that. Once I transferred, though, it kind of like some light, just all right, like now it's go time.
Yeah.
And I was in there, every morning. I was there before practice, after practice. And like I sat down, I was like, okay, what do I need to work on? My biggest thing was everybody was telling me you got to be stronger, and I'm still not a big fan of it. I'm like,
Well, it's always like, what does that mean?
yeah,
Like,
exactly,
where do I need to be stronger at? Like,
yeah,
I need more clear direction on what exactly you need from me. And that was one thing I think as a player, I felt that too. Like you need to be stronger. You need to do this. Well, like I need a plan on how to do that. Like, do I need to be stronger on the block? Do I need to be stronger rebounding? Do I need to be stronger on the perimeter? Like, what does it all mean? Give me something really pointed so I can work on it. And so that's what we've tried to do with our strength coach because I went through that too. So that's not an unfamiliar
yeah,
thing. It's like what came in as a point guard, then you moved me from point guard, but you never told me you moved me from point guard. So I'm playing the three, I'm playing the two, I'm trying to pass like a point guard, but you want me to score, but you never told me to score. You know what I mean? Like you just
yeah.
gotta tell me
No,
what
I
to do.
totally get it because when I came out of high school, I was like what 6'9.5", and my whole thing was I was Virginia guy, right? So for a year and a half, I didn't care about Kentucky calling me Tubby Smith. It was all I'm like, no, thank you. And then it just ended up that Beeline. There was some issues behind it. It was more politics where he couldn't offer me
Mm-hmm.
because he recruited me for like 2 years. Came to Romania the whole summer. He
Oh
spent a
wow.
month in Romania to meet my mom, my everybody, my whole family,
Oh wow.
watch me play with the Romanian national team. And I mean, we both thought it was going to be a lock, right? I mean, I didn't even give it any that time of day to any of the school, honestly, for like 2, 3, 4 months. And I got that fall of the senior year where I visited, and then Beeline was like, "Well, I'm not sure I can offer you right now," and that's because Patrick Patterson. We have only one scholarship left. Patrick Patterson is the local kid. They want me to wait on him. He told us he doesn't want to come to West Virginia though, but
All
you got
right.
to. Yeah, like
You
he
gotta
literally
work on
told him, he's like, "You're not my top five. There's no way I come here." But it was more of a political decision between
it. Yeah.
actual, like I think it was the governor. It was a
A
whole
lot
time.
of stuff. A lot of
Yeah,
stuff
so I
involved.
totally understood it, but it just took. I was like, all right. So at that point, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to Mason. They were like recruiting me very hard, but it was always. I just felt like it was always like you need to put weight on. You need to put weight on, and I get it. I was like 195, but in the same time, the more weight I put on is just the worse I felt. So like
Right.
my freshman year, actually, when I put some weight on, but I was still like 205, 210. I probably played my best games at Mason. I was
Mm-hmm.
getting 9, 10 boards, and we're having like I think it was Dayton, Cleveland State, you know, um, and I wasn't the greatest athlete, but I was just holding my own. I was getting 7, 8, 9 boards. Then he started me, uh, and I thought it was going good. And it's like every time I heard, it's like, well, you still got to go to the weight room, get stronger, put more weight on. It was just countering in my mind as like I'm weak. So every
Yeah.
time I heard that, I got weaker on the floor because somebody was telling me I was weak, even though like I
Yeah.
was feeling good on the floor and I was feeling strong, I was playing well. And to me, that was just like you said, it was like just tell me the plan, let me work on it, but just don't tell me every day you got to get stronger.
Yeah.
I think there's
That,
so many ways you can tell me that like okay, you got to play more physical, right? Like get more
yeah.
physical, go get rebounds, go get like it just don't give me a general thing that really involves
Tell
a
me
lot of
what I need to know.
yeah, just
Yeah. I mean, and like I always tell these guys, we're on these recruiting calls. It's like, listen, I don't want to take the player that you are away from you. So, like, I would say, hey, let's see if we can put 5 pounds on, see where we are there, right? We put five on. You would have gone from 190, 195, maybe 195 to 200. Hey, I feel pretty good. You're still moving the same way. And we're kind of really watching your movements because your movements are what make you unique. Like if you lose your ability to move the way that you move or your second jump or all these different things, it's a big deal. And so that's how we've kind of attacked it. We've gone five, judge, look, and we test a bunch of agility, we test all that stuff. Then it'll be five more, and then we just kind of look at it, and then usually by the time they're sophomores or juniors, we say your playing weight is 220. You got to be between 225 and 215. You got to stay in here. We just try to come. Now sometimes we've had guys go too heavy, Like I had a guy, Greg Graves, who played for me at the Mountain. He got too heavy at the 235, and I was like, I just don't think you're gonna be the player. And we got him back down to 225, and he was great. But like again, get stronger. Well, yeah, we all have to get stronger. We have to put more weight on. Well, yeah, but let's be really pointed with that because that's a big difference. You know, I mean, you're a guy that stretched the floor and could score the ball, and your uniqueness was how you scored. So, like, we can't take your uniqueness away because we want you to bang a little bit more on the block. Like, you're probably going to score 16 and give up 11. If I take your size away, if I get you too heavy, you're going to score 11 and give up 11. Like, you know, it's like
That's a good way to put it. But you can see that to me, there's like a few type of coaches, and ones that play basketball that can be successful because they took the lessons, and one that played the basketball and like a bit too stubborn after.
yeah,
And that's at least that's what I've dealt with in Europe. It's like you get the ex basketball player that's super stubborn, and it's like, oh, we're doing this my way. And I can see that you've taken everything that you've been through, and you kind of analyze it and figure out what works, what doesn't, and of course what works and what doesn't for your program. And I can see you're doing
yeah,
that right now, and I think um, that was my biggest like mystery. I was like, man, like you just turn programs around like super quick and you build them up. And because I know honestly, the Mount when I was in college, um, it wasn't that great. They were changing coaches
yep,
super fast, and they were just not doing a good job, I guess. And we played them a few times, and I was like, we just won there, won by 30. I was like, okay, like it's just another game. And then, once you saw it happening, I was like, okay, yeah, you have to do it through recruiting, you have to do it through maybe some transfers, but you build it your own way, and then you kind of build this like smallish, powerhouse where they're consistent, in being the top four in the league. And you have to build a program. You can't build it. I can't take over whatever school and just be like, okay, we're gonna win championships starting year one. And I think
right.
that's what
It
you're
takes
doing.
time.
Yeah,
It,
you're
it takes
doing that
time.
right now. I think, and it's amazing to me.
Sure.
Uh, so, what are your goals at GW for next year? Just
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be necessary to just win a championship.
Yeah.
Just as far as
Oh,
being your team there and for yourself.
yeah. I would never say win a championship. I think I've had great teams and we came up short, and I've had bad teams that won it all. And I think that I mean, they just kind of all come together at
How's that
the
feeling?
right
Wait, how's that
time.
feeling? Like having a team that's like not supposed to, and you end up winning it. It's like, oh,
Well, you always feel like I always feel like this. As long as I'm coaching a team, there's a pathway to win it all. Now, sometimes that pathway is 10%, sometimes it's 90%. But if I can find the right 10%, we're going to win it all. It's always going to be based off your connection. If you get 5, 6 guys out there that can play together, that have a great chemistry together, you're tough to beat. And you never know when chemistry just kind of happens. There could be something that happens in the dorm room on a Saturday night. Where they're in there playing video games, they have a great laughing session or something, and all of a sudden, like their chemistry is great. I mean, you know how simple it is.
it
It's just
is.
like
It is though. It is
you know,
just like that. It's how
and
it was
so
as
I
American.
yeah, and I think I think the biggest thing I try to bring is that I'm a player. You know what I mean? I was Virginia State Player of the Year. I was a good college player. Like I'm a good player. So like I understand what it's like to be in that locker room. I understand what it's like to be in the dorm room, and I don't think people always understand that. Like it could be a trip to the mall that the guys take, and all of a sudden they're just like, "Oh, you remember this?" And all of a sudden it's like it goes. So I think just trying to be cognizant of that, and I just want to build our chemistry and our connectivity together. And we always say we want to be at our best when our best required. I think that's huge because that allows you the ability to be great in a moment, but then ready to challenge and take the next moment. We talk about love as accountability, and accountability is love. Everything starts with love and ends with love. If I can really grow that notion with our team as team members of loving each other and loving being held accountable and loving giving accountability, we're going to have a great season. It's just that simple because everyone struggles with holding people accountable, even in a loving fashion. And I just think if we're able to build that into our group with the talent that I think we do have, it's just going to be hard to beat us. And if we're not able to build that into the group, we'll be like every other team. And then we'll be waiting for that, hoping for those 3 or 4 days in March that we can find that chemistry. And, we're trying to do a lot of that legwork right now.
Well, you're in a very tough conference too, honestly. And to me, not a knock on any other school in that conference. But GW is has a certain standard for academics. So it's it's just not easy for you, I think, maybe to recruit sometimes. I don't know. Is that has
Well,
that? Okay,
I
you're gonna
love,
find smart players. You're gonna find
yeah,
good players anywhere. But again, it might take more time. It might take more relationships built over time. Um, to me, from outside, and it just seems harder.
yeah. Well, I think it's hard to win no matter where you are. I think the thing with me is I love the components that GW has because I think that academic component is going to really help. It's going to allow us to attack the right kind of guys we want to in recruiting. It's going to allow us to have a certain kind of component within our program. We have a great graduate school, so I think we're going to really use that to our advantage. If we turn to redshirt guys, if we take transfers, have to stay another year, and all these kind of things. And so we're trying to skew the numbers in a way that allows us to really be successful. We recognize that the best teams are consistent every year. And so we want to be able to build our team where we're top 4 in the A10 every single season. That's how we're trying to build it. And, we're not trying to, I think a lot of people say they want to be consistent, but they really want to have one great season. And I'm not really about having one great season. I want to be consistently good. And I think if we find a way to be consistently right there in the conversation every year, we're going to get in the NCAA tournament enough. We're in the A10s. We're in a multiple bid league. So as we continue to be consistent and consistently good, we're going to find our way into the NCAA tournament where we can make a ton of noise and beat some teams with how we play. Our style of play being so different, I think that will be tough for teams to play against in March. Not many teams press and trap for 40 minutes and turn around and play ball screen offense in different ways and shooting all over the place. So teams will have to really adjust to that. I mean, it's more of a pro style system than most people run. So people will have to adjust to that. So really it's just about us being consistent. And I think it's tough, but I think it's tough everywhere. And I think if you're a true competitor, you love the biggest challenges, and the biggest challenges are what makes you. And we want to find guys that love being competitive and they're true competitors and want to embrace all of it.
Absolutely. And now that you did bring the X's and O's a little bit, I just wanted to ask you about that too. Uh, what are some of like your favorite things to do in your offense, like that you just can't go without?
Yeah, it's crazy. So we've had so many different styles of guards, and I think you can't really talk about offense and talk about one component because I think they're all like work together. We've had so many different styles of guards. We've had small guards, Junior Robinson, honorable mention All American, 5'5", scored 22 a game. We've had Jalen Pickett, who was an All American, freshman All American at Siena, who's 6'4", a little bit slower than him but bigger. We've had Julian Norfleet, who's plays a ton, still playing overseas, who's about 6'3", shoots a ton of threes, and a great shooter. So we've had all these different kinds of guards, and I think what we've tried to do is create a system that allows those guards to play with freedom. We've always tried to put a lot of shooting around them, whether it's a 2, 3, and 4 sometimes with a lot of spacing. But I think when you have a rim run big and you go spread ball screen, I think it's really hard to stop if you can put the right amount of shooting around there. So we always want to start everything off with really good spread ball screen offense. If you get that, I call it a relationship, like a legit relationship. If our 1s and 5 can be married and just and just have that perfect, like your grandparents, like they argue and bicker, but they always stay together because it's so.
Yeah.
If I can get our 1s and 5s to have that kind of relationship,
Well,
it's just special because they can make some plays that the defense can't be prepared for.
I tell you this: I think any pro coach in Europe that listens to this podcast, they're gonna want to take your players. No, it's just because it's basketball in Europe right now. It is just that. It is. As much as I've liked my year when I played in the VTB in Russia, and I had a big role, and I could play inside, outside, more basketballs to shoot, same as in France. Slowly as I played, I kind of became a stretch 4, and it's literally like everywhere is the 2, 3, and 4. Okay, 2 maybe sometimes has more, but the 3 and 4 like mostly spot up shooters, pick and pops. But you're not gonna have the same amount as as the 1-5 pick and roll.
Yeah.
1-5 pick and roll, the 2-5 pick and roll, and then you create off that. That's why I think having the system too, it's you know it's great for your kids that are good enough to go play overseas. It's gonna be easier transition for them because
We've had a lot of guys go and play
exactly. I was gonna say you
play
had
well. I mean, we had I think we had something like 15 straight seniors go and play professionally. Up until this year, we had 3 seniors. We had 1 senior that's going to play next year from here, and then we had 3 guys that are going to go be millionaires doing something else. But it's really neat, because they've gone over, and what's been neat though, Vlad, I'll tell you this, is that I've had multiple of these guys say to me, like they get over there and they get in the first couple of practices, and their coaches are like, "Hey, you're really good at this." And he's like, "Well, I ran all this in college." They ran all this stuff in college. They understand their reads, and we teach it to them. right? So if we're running a spread ball and screen roll with this formation, you're looking here. With this formation, you're looking here. So when they go become professionals, it's been great watching them come in and just like spark right away because I think their
It's the
learning
same
curve's
thing.
been different. Yeah. Well, I feel like everyone's running these college
Basketball,
offenses in
yeah,
college. Like it's like college offense, you know. Like you got to be a pro at the point guard level for us, and you got to be a pro if you're a big for us. And then we have those two components. You know, good luck. We're gonna be tough to beat.
exactly. And how about defense now?
Yeah, so we're gonna play man to man. We're gonna press and trap, pick you up full floor. I just love that being able to do that. I hate watching guys walk the ball off the floor. For 2 years, I've had to do that because we haven't had enough depth. So I'm ready to get back to my roots of picking you up 94 feet and making guys work to get the ball off the floor and a chance to play more guys. And I'm excited to have a little bit of depth, be able to do that. You know, and again, we'll ice ball screens like a lot of people do. And you know, I just want to be the aggressor on offense. I want to take you out of what you want to do. And I think when you can do that, the aggressor on defense, and I think when you're able to do that
Dictate it. Yep.
defensively, you got to guard less action. You know, you got guard less action. We can dictate more. You know, it allows our athletes to really be able to anticipate better. So I'm excited about getting back to force base on and really getting out and passing lanes a little bit more.
It's awesome. Yeah, I mean, not having your guys, it's definitely not an easy situation, transition wise. And like you said, you know, you don't have the depth usually that you want to have, so you can play your style of play. But in the same time, you've still been successful. So I think that's you get you and your coaching staff deserve a lot of credit for that. Being able to adjust, I think, because as a coach, adjustments are
Oh
huge.
man,
And
it's everything. And I mean, I think I've always wanted to be like a part of like being a part of a coaching staff where like we can adjust to our players instead of our players having to adjust to us. It's much easier for us to create a system that fits the 16 guys in the locker room than it is for them to fit the system that we're trying to force upon them. And I think that's what we've done the last couple of years. And now it's great because I feel like we've got some bodies in the building that we can really say, all right, let's go play. Let's go play the way we want to play
awesome.
now.
But what do you do? Now it's like a recruiting standpoint. So you have a kid that's really good, doesn't exactly fit your system, but is very, very good. I don't know how to give you an example. And he really wants to come play for you, but
Yeah.
you know that you have to make some adjustments.
Well,
Uh,
I think for me, it's like,
how do you treat that situation?
yeah, for me, it's like, how good do I think he is? And I think what's hard in high school basketball is that the undersized scorer that gets to the free throw line a lot is really valued. But in college, that's not going to happen. So it's like looking at his skills and saying, are his skills applicable to how we're going to score and how we're going to play? Now, there's some special players. We're looking at a couple now. They're like, hey, this guy's so good, that we're just going to take him and we'll kind of figure it out because we can enhance what he does really well. But I think you got to really look at it. You got to really look and say, like, does his skills translate? Like for us, like an undersized post in a spread ball screen system, it just doesn't work. So if a guy's undersized post and they're like, oh man, he's getting double doubles, yeah, but if he's got short arms and he's getting his shot blocked on the rim off the pick and roll instead of dunking it, it's not really going to help us, And so we've been in our system long enough to really, we go even as far as physical attributes of what we're looking for. And so like if that's that center spot, I mean, he'd have to be really, really nasty to have short arms for us, because how it is, you get the ball in the pick and roll, you got these guys trailing you to block it, and they have the angle to block the shot. So unless you can get it up quickly or unless you can finish it, you're going to get that blocked if you don't have these attributes. Just the reality of it, unless you have great timing. So it depends on the position. We have a little bit more flexibility at I would say probably at maybe the point if the guy can score and can pass. Like we've taken scorers at the point guard spot, and we've taken guys who are wings and made them point guards if they were unselfish could pass. Because we're going to bring them off 50 ball screen tonight. If he can score the ball, that's going to set the defense. But if he's a willing passer, that's going to really dominate the game. And not saying like we have guys like James Harden, but kind of what Houston's done with James Harden. Taking a guy that can score the ball and a guy that's capable of passing, and now that person dominates the game.
Awesome. And really, I honestly think that just running the stuff you're telling me right now, just as far as your offense, is just it's just not many coaches that are willing to run that kind of stuff in college basketball nowadays. And I mean, it's not. I mean, you've seen coaches for so long having success with a certain thing. Talking about Syracuse is the zone. It's so I understand it. I respect it. I like to study basketball, so I look at it and I'm like, okay, I get it. I get it why he's doing it, and he recruits that way. So that to me that would be an interesting conversation, for example, because I feel like Syracuse would be like, okay, you got to have this, 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 otherwise you're not coming here. I don't care who you are because I can't play in the zone.
Simple.
There's no adjustment there. It's like
they never have small guards. Their guards are always 6'4", 6'5" at the top of that zone. I don't think you can have a small guard in the zone.
And their wings, and the 3 and 4s, they got to be like 6'8" plus. And so I'm like, that's always been my question. I'm like, so if I'm Syracuse, like I have a 6'6" stud, like I don't know, like even first round pick, do I take him? Because it doesn't fit. Like, is he going to kill me that year? Like, it's just so many questions. So, it's good to hear you talk about, like, you have your certain stuff that you might be willing to be like, okay, that's not a huge deal, but some stuff, it is a huge deal, and you need that from.
We're sort of really looking at the attributes of each player, and we're sort of saying, like, does this attribute fit into what we can do? Can we run these actions to enhance this? Sometimes, Vlad, it's as much as like, is it a good counter to somebody else? If you have a really dominant player that's maybe a perimeter player, you can have you could, like, the one thing, the other side post is a good way to kind of describe it, because it's like, what will we do with that? If he can't finish on the pick and roll, now we can only go dribble handoff. Like it's such a change in the offense. Like, it just doesn't fit. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, it's like, how does that affect everybody else in the team?
Right.
It's like my scoring point guard, does that take away points, assists from, playmaking because my big is not, I don't know, athletic enough, is not.
Right. Like when the Bulls had a great year when Derrick Rose had the MVP, they played basically two post guys, Joakim Noah and I forgot Taj
Gibson, from LSU.
Taj Gibson. And both those guys, Derrick Rose would get to the front of the rim guy. So those guys were basically on the perimeter, handing off to him and down screening for him, open up that lane for him. Now, both those guys are capable 15-foot shooters. Joakim Noah is a great assister, great passer, great ball mover. So that just works. So when, Derrick Rose goes to another team and he doesn't have that, he's got a low post big, well, that changes Derrick Rose's game pretty good. And right? And so, like, when you it's funny when you go like high pick and roll. I did this study. When you go high pick and roll with Derrick Rose, he's really a scorer. It's fine. He scores the ball, but he doesn't assist it around. He scores. So now you got to pop that big to assist it to other guys. So if you run him off too many pick and rolls, it's going to slow the offense down. But you can run him off dribble handoffs.
That's really the offense up, I never noticed that. I really didn't.
And he's an electric scorer, so I'm not saying he's not a great scorer or not. But you hear what I'm saying? Like,
I mean, especially like, his younger years, he was like impossible to stop.
So it's all the mix of the guys, though. And, and so like we had the kid, Junior Robinson. He's a 5'5" guy. He gets in front of the rim and finish. But we couldn't have guys in the lane for him because we need to give him space. Right? Like he can't have a replace guy. He might cut it back. That might be the only move he can make. He might take the guy and cut it back. So we had to just open the lane up for him so he could be able to do that. So when we had a roll replace big with that guy, we couldn't really use him as a roll replace guy. So just knowing that kind of stuff with your players and how to put them in the right position. And like, again, Derrick Rose, MVP that year, and they ran him off the least. I think they ran him off the least high ball screens that year, probably of his career. And he was dominant coming off the dribble handoff because he's so strong and so fast. And, so just, those little nuances affect how everybody plays and allows everybody to be at their best. If you get it right.
Absolutely. And now one of the last things I want to touch on was transfers, right? I mean, it's a huge thing in college basketball now, and I think everybody makes a big deal out of it. And to me, it's about fit, right? Like I mentioned before. It wasn't that George Mason or Coach Hill, I'm like, it's not like it was a bad coach. He's a great coach. Great coach, right? It's just that maybe he got a better recruiting class next year, or he had to change styles of play. So I couldn't. I don't know. I just didn't see myself developing the pro that. So I just wanted to transfer because of that.
Yep.
It wasn't like so. It's just a matter of fit for me, right? And I think that's what it is. A lot of times, or you get this, D1 kids that are gonna go, oh, hey, I'm really D1, I'm really good, and then they just don't develop and they have to transfer down. So for me personally, I actually I don't encourage it, but I think it's not the worst thing ever. You know, if I'm
Yeah.
a really good D2 player and I have a chance to go D1, I mean, why not as a player? You know,
Yeah.
and if I'm really a D1 player and I'm right in the bench, you know, why not to try to transfer? I mean, you know, and I know it's tough for you as a head coach. And I was reading about Matt Painter at Purdue, what he said about harms and
Yeah.
uh, uh, yes, I know. You know, it's like, and then I was reading
Yeah.
Izzo's response, and I think there's when it comes to transfers, old school mentality and like a new school mentality type thing. You know,
Yeah. I think I've had a lot of guys transfer out, transfer up. We had 6 straight guys on would have been like 3 straight elite teams at the Mount. Guys transferred up and out. I've always been a supporter of the guys. I mean, I saw those guys' comments, and I just thought they were interesting because when my whole team was leaving, no one said anything. Like no one, it didn't matter to anybody when my whole team was leaving. But when they have 1 or 2 guys
because
leaving,
they're
now
not
now it's
Purdue.
such a big
You
issue,
see how it is?
right? It's
Yeah,
such a big deal. I think if we're all in the good of the group, then we should be standing up for one another. Not just not when it hurts one of us, not when it just hurts the very top. But I think for me, I've always like those guys have a dream that they want to live out. I want to help them fulfill their dream. I'm living my dream every day. So I'm not sitting there saying I'm encouraging guys to leave. I'm definitely not. I'm saying what is best for you. And I think my job is I'm supposed to be a college basketball expert is to help guide them the best way I can. So if you come to my office and you say, "Hey, coach, I'm thinking about transferring," I'm going to say, "All right, well, tell me why. Tell me what you're thinking. Tell me what you want, and I'm going to tell you whether or not I think it's realistic or not." And hopefully, we've built up enough trust over that time that you recognize that I care about you. That I want what's best for you. I haven't once told a guy to stay when I didn't think it was best for him. I haven't once told a guy to leave when I thought it wasn't best for him. I mean, for me, it's really about the conversation and what that person wants. Now, I will tell you if a guy says, "Hey, I want this, this, and this," and I'll be like, "Well, I just don't think you're going to get that." And I do think with the progression we have here, these guys are graduating, this guy's leaving. You're probably going to be able to get that here, or you're probably never going to have that role here. If you want to be, I had a big a couple years ago, and he was like, I want to shoot 15 footers, and I want to do this, and I really wasn't as skilled. That wasn't the best part of his game as a sophomore. But I could see a pathway. Like you're probably going to be shooting those next year. We're going to need you to shoot those. We had the kid Junior Robinson. So we're going to need you to shoot those because he's going to be playing the point guard for us, and he needs the lane to be open. So it's like a different team. And so I explained it to him pretty clear, like, hey, I think you're going to have those opportunities next year. You got to shoot 60% on those jumpers, though, if you're going to do them. And it has to be something where our team expects you to take these 15 footers, not where you just take them to prove you can do it. Because you know how that goes, Vlad. They take them and then it's a layup the other way because no one knows it's happening. And so I just explained it to him that way. He just still decided to try to test the market and try to leave, and he did. And I think he was ultimately happy with his goal. Now he went to the next spot and didn't get a chance to do that at all. Probably played and he went to the next spot and didn't get a chance to do it at all. I have a great relationship with him. I think I have a great relationship because I was honest with him.
well, I
And I mean,
think
I think that's all I can do.
it goes back to what you're talking. At the beginning, where you actually care about the players that are in the locker room, right? You care about them as student athletes and not just what they can give you on the floor for those 40 minutes of the game, right?
Right.
Or whatever.
Like I want them to have a great career. Like I want them to have wild success wherever they go. Like I want to have wild success with me. I want them to have wild success as they leave. Like, for me, it's not anything personal. I want it for them because they get, how it is when you're a player too. Like that time goes by so fast. I've been doing this now. This is going to my 9th year being a head coach. My players get 4, maybe 5 years. I want them to have a great 4 or 5 years that they really enjoy. And it's their decision to make. It's not mine to make it for them.
Yeah, it just shows that just from what I've been reading, and like you said, especially the so, the top or the power schools,
Yeah.
they just always kind of biased about it because now lately what I've seen is kind of kids go from top school to another top school and they don't really like that anymore. It was
Right.
okay when the top
Yeah.
school was like, "Hey, the Purdue kid, went to low D1." Oh, that's okay with me now because he wasn't good enough.
Right.
Oh, but
And
now,
or when the low D1 kid is going to a
yeah,
Power
or they
Five,
took
it's
the
all
best
good.
player. I'm like, oh, yeah, I like this kid. I'll take him. But now I'm like Purdue, and I get this, my starting center, and he wants to go, and he's going
Right.
to go to a team that, okay, it's not directly in the same conference, but it's going to be the same level, and I don't like that anymore. Well, I mean,
It's interesting.
the two-way street, right? To me, it's not. You can't. To me, at this point, you're showing kind of your true face. You're like, well, I care about myself. So I really like what you said throughout this whole podcast because it's been about your players, your staff, your school, and I think I don't know, as a head coach, you kind of set the tone for everything. And like I said from the beginning, I'm a big fan of it. You're doing a fabulous job wherever you've been, and I'm really following GW now. As you know, one of your assistant has been was my assistant in high school, and I have a great relationship with him, with Nima, and I mean, I just root for you guys. So I really appreciate that you taking your time to hop on the podcast and talk about all this stuff, and it's been absolutely great. And I hope once the virus goes away, I really want to come to GW and watch you guys work out with the players and talk more basketball.
Come see us, man. You're always welcome, man. I appreciate you. I'm a big fan of you, and whatever we can do to support you, my man, you let us know and raise high.
Absolutely appreciate it. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
brother.